What if you could connect with someone before you meet them? That sounds strange. How could anyone know that? You can if you know your personality type and how your personality communicates. How many of you have struggled in dating? When I talk about the struggles people have in dating, you can almost hear the groans, and those aren't the groans you hear coming from the bedroom. A struggle people don't think about when it comes to dating is if you have an invisible disability. How do you navigate that? Share? Not? When do you share? You probably are not going to wait to share your disability as part of your wedding vows. Dating has been a personal struggle for me because of my invisible disability, and for many others like me. According to Disabled World, it is estimated that 10% of people in the US have a medical condition which could be considered a type of invisible disability. My fear? Acceptance. Think about the struggle, the stereotyping, and the stigma people have regarding disabilities. According to a scholarly paper, Perceived Satisfaction and Inequity, a survey of potential romantic partners of people with a disability, this is a common struggle. Now bring this theme to dating. Many of us struggle in dating, but this brings a whole new level of fear. At age 18, Sharon discovered she had an invisible disability that caused her world to shatter. Sharon found out she had epilepsy. One day, shaking on the floor with her pants soaked in urine, her boyfriend broke up with her, telling her it was too much to handle. It shook her confidence, not knowing how to communicate who she was, what she needed, or how to date again. Fear rose inside her that she would be alone. How would you feel? Within a year, she tried dating again. Her mother told her she needed to tell her dates in case it happened. She didn't tell him. She didn't want mom to be right, but mom was right. A seizure happened on a date. She woke up in the hospital and never saw him again. She learned that lesson. If you were in Sharon's shoes, what would you do? Would you give up? Sharon decided rejection wasn't going to be in her vocabulary. She faced her struggle and found a way to disclose it by using humor. She accepted the fact that not everyone could handle her challenges, but she knew someday someone would. That day did come, and she's happily married. It took a while, but she learned to disclose before meeting someone face to face. Timothy Skykes wrote, "A disability is not a part of your personality." Unlike Sharon, immediate disclosure of my disability isn't a requirement for me, but there's still fear that someone may use my disability against me. Other fears individuals have is when they are on disability and get asked, "What do you do for a living?" If it's mental health related, are they now going to think I'm crazy? Am I only going to be forced to date people with disabilities? Are they going to be able to handle the needs I have? Add to the mix if you're LGBTQ, race, or other aspects of life, and the list goes on. Disabled Dating, Your Disability is Not an Obstacle, is an article that addresses some of these issues. A person with a disability has just as much of a right to date as a person who doesn't have a disability. They suggest being upfront about your disability and not to settle. You wouldn't ask a person without a disability to settle. Why would it be any different for someone who has a disability? The article continued with, rejection happens to everyone, but keep a positive attitude and release the pressure off yourself. This is what Sharon did. People with disabilities have normal dates like everyone else. We have sex, and we are not a burden. Has your perspective changed? With or without a disability, dating can be challenging. What if you could reduce some of those challenges by knowing who you connect with before you even meet the person? So what makes me qualified to continue speaking on this? Books gave me guidance when I was struggling to find connection. College led to me minoring in business and conflict resolution. Gaining these skills led to my master's. I did my master's in industrial organizational psychology. You need a degree to say it or spell it. In studying leadership models, they didn't really include conflict resolution or communication. How do you lead without conflict resolution or communication? What was interesting was noticing the same thing in personality models. They were all about the self and didn't include communication about yourself with others. Strange. Don't we communicate ourselves to others and vice versa? Jung and Hippocrates, some of the fathers of our personalities, focused on who we are and pretty much left it at that. That seems like the start of things, but we need to go further. Through observation, there are common patterns people have. The part missing was how to communicate through your personality. All this combined led to the discovery of the needs languages. So what are the needs languages? The needs languages contain 4 needs: right, important, value, and control. We have 2 out of the 4 needs. We communicate through those 2 needs. That means there are 6 personality communication types that make up the needs languages. In dating, we share one need that is the same and one that is different. Before you discover what kind of partner you want, you have to discover who you are and accept that it is okay to be who you are. Bringing yourself into balance is also a key to attracting and keeping your ideal person, if this is what you want from dating. So let me briefly say what each needs language is. Control is about the environment. This person likes their environment to be a certain way wherever they are. Right is about good or bad, right or wrong. This need is about belief. Value is about cost versus benefit. These individuals have to either see a cost or a benefit to make a decision. Important is about being noticed and getting the prize or the goal. We need all the needs language types, and finding balance is key. We tell people way too much who they are and what they should do. Instead, we should be guiding people into discovering who they are. Think about being on a road trip and stopping to eat at a cute diner on the side of the road. The food's amazing, something you were not expecting. You talk about it more than if you looked it up and planned it. Finding out about yourself is somewhat similar. We get more out of discovery and it sticks with us. So according to the needs language communication model, I speak important value, or what I like to say, IV. So depending on my preference, I will either want to date someone with either an I, important need language, or a V, value need language. Most likely, dating a CR, control right, isn't going to happen because we speak opposite needs languages. My personal preference is a CV or control value needs language. How each person discovers their preference is different. Discovering mine came from growing up with my second mom, who spoke CV, and she was one of the wisest people I knew. My stepdad, whom I admire, speaks CV needs languages also. Even before words could be put to it, a CV individual was what I wanted to date. Have you ever met someone and thought, I'd like to be with someone like that? Well, it probably has something to do with the way their personality communicates. The results that have been seen from the needs languages have led to being more effective in communicating with all different kinds of relationships, including romantic ones. I wanted to collect more data, so what better way than to do it through observation by watching a few dating shows? Now, there are a lot out there, so I decided to hone in on one. Love is Blind. This show was different. The contestants would not see each other until a proposal was made. There was no body language, just dialogue through a wall. It was perfect. In the first season, Cameron and Lauren were the success story, observing that each of them spoke control need language. Recently in the interview, they both said we plan weekly meetings, which is a control need. However, where they are different is that Lauren's other need language is important and Cameron's is value. Lauren's personality is going to be a little stronger than Cameron's personality. If you listen to their words and see their actions, you can pick this up. In one of the pods, Cameron disclosed he was sensitive and talked about the perception around it. He was speaking value need language. Lauren soon after challenged his control to see if it matched hers by asking him, when was the last time he cried? It was important to Lauren to know how to navigate Cameron's heart, which to her was the end goal of finding a husband. Cameron shared his mom's diagnosis. He was trusting Lauren by letting her have control. Cameron saw that the pods were a controlled environment and that the benefit would be greater to finding a wife in this manner. This is an example of how our minds work and speak with the needs languages in a healthy way. In season 2 of Love is Blind, there's an example of a man who recently said he had ADHD, an invisible disability. He connected with 2 different women, each with different needs languages. Shane and Natalie connected in important needs. Shane and Shayna connected in right needs. Shane spoke IR, important right. Natalie spoke CI, control important, and Shayna spoke control right, CR needs languages. Shane proposed to Natalie. When they met at the altar, she said no. By Natalie saying no, she was taking her control back. Shane felt like he was wronged by what Natalie did, so he tried to take his right back and continued to do so in later interviews. This may look like both of them fighting over control, but it isn't. When you understand the perspective, you will understand the needs of the other person. So what could Shane and Natalie have said differently? Shane could have asked, "When I acted this way, did you feel unsafe, like your world was spinning out of control?" Natalie could have stated, "When you love someone, saying you hate them isn't a good way to start off a marriage. I want our marriage to start off on the right foot." This is why when you hear in some of their interviews that communication was not there. Would things have changed if they were able to speak and understand each other's needs languages? Now you may be thinking this is semantics, but it isn't. This is how we decide on who we want to be with, how we connect, and how fights occur. Fights occur when we don't understand how each other communicates their needs. I recently had a conflict with someone where they tried to speak control to my important. Didn't go well. But when they spoke value to my value, showing me the cost of what I was about to do was going to hurt me, I changed my perspective. Remember when I said I'm an IV, important value, and I like control value, CVs? Now imagine putting that on your dating profile. What struggles would you eliminate in your dating life by knowing who you are and knowing who you would connect with romantically before the date began? Now think about how you would speak differently to someone if you knew their needs languages. How would you react differently? No matter what the struggle is in dating and relationships, this gives a whole new perspective on personalities that we haven't looked at yet. Let's take personality communication from just about being about me to we. Thank you.